So what happened a couple of months back? I think I was looking into HTMX and learning about that a little bit, and then let me try to deploy something, and let me use Bun and all these new different texts that I haven't worked with before. So I came around with Fly.io, and I wanted to try that. Fly.io is just like a cloud where you can go and deploy your applications, right? So back then, they did not have the functionality where you could hook up your GitHub repo to their platform, meaning whenever you push code, you get automatic deploys to their cloud, right? So that meant I had to go and get their CLI. So I set that up, and then of course you have to go and create the GitHub action, right, to set up the workflow, right, to deploy. And as I was going through this, and I'm like, oh, this might be interesting to do in Dagger, right? To just go and create a Dagger function. So that's what I did. The Dagger function is very, very simple. It only implements the single command. Well, there's a single function called deploy, right? That what it does, it takes the source directory, it takes the token, which is a secret, and then creates the fly container down here that installs the CLI, passes the token in as well, mounts the directory, sets the working directory, and then just executes the fly CLI with the deploy command, and allowing you to deploy your application using Dagger. So it's a very, very simple, very straightforward function. This is all there is to it. So the simple demo is I have a Hello World application running. I can use Fly deploy to deploy it. It's going to deploy the same thing. So while that's going on, what I'll do is let me actually open another terminal. Let's see how fast that is. Anyway, so what I'll do is, it's there, it's running, right? So it's deployed already. And if I want to deploy this with a Dagger function, so we'll say hello world Dagger, right? What I'll do is I'll export the token, and then I can run Dagger, call the function directly, right, from my GitHub repo, pass in the current working current folder as a source, and then use the secret to reference this environment. Well, use the token flag, right, to reference the environment variable that then gets passed in here as a secret type, right, and it gets passed in, sets as a Fly API token for the CLI that runs, right? So let's do that one. So it's basically doing the same thing. It's just wrapped into the Dagger module, Dagger function. And if I refresh this, should be there soon. There you go, right? So that worked. And then the last step was, of course, creating the GitHub workflow. So I use the Dagger for GitHub action, and then the only thing that you're doing is just specifying the module, and then the actual command where the secret is set in your GitHub secrets. So very simple. Yeah, I can take any questions now if there are any.
Sorry, I was muted. What's the perfect combo? Like, what would you combine? What other modules might you combine this with?
So I was thinking, like, it's right now with this one single, like only having a single function, it's I mean, it's useful, and it's kind of you're basically wrapping a CLI, right, into another abstraction, right, which is the Dagger module and all that. But honestly, I would rather have this in the GitHub workflows and I know I own this than have the CLI and then have the CLI break me like that. You know what I mean? But combining this, like, you could do the basically the next thing that one would want to do is probably look at the Fly CLI and just see all the other stuff that you can have there, because they have some database stuff, right? They have some console clusters that you can set up, right? And different other things that you could do. But you could combine it with, let me think about it. It's mostly you're deploying a front end, you're deploying a website. Let's say you have to do things like optimize images, right? So there could be a function or a module, right, that does image optimization or something, right? Things like that.
It kind of makes me want to, now that we have these contextual modules where you can sort of, attach a module to your upstream application, it makes me want to try and add a deploy function to my app that just sort of magically uses Fly, and I don't even have to know how it deploys. It just deploys.
Yeah.
And probably the only place where the implementation details would leak is the need to pass that Fly.io token.
Yes. Yeah. But you could think about having, I tried to do one-to-one mapping here, right? Like to the CLI, but it doesn't have to be that, right? Like my deploy here could be a bunch of other things as well, not just the website, right?